Welcome back to Easily Explained, where today we will be talking about irregular preterite tense verbs. So let's get started. Now that we have gone over all of the types of different irregular preterite tense verbs, we're just going to do a recap of everything that you have learned in the past 6 videos, because it was a lot of material and a lot of things to cover, and it's good to go back and do a recap. So we're going to recap a bunch of the different types of preterite tense irregular verbs, and then we are going to do a practice. And now in the practice you will be tested on many different types, not just the type that you are learning, and that way you can work on remembering all of these different types of irregular preterite tense verbs. But also remember that we aren't going to be going in as detail and giving you as much practice with each and every type. So that's why you need to go back and rewatch all of the other videos of this series, and then this should be your last one that you watch, so that it's a nice wrap to this topic, because it is so diverse and so much information was given to you. So that is why we are doing a practice. So starting with part 1 and part 2. In part 1 we went over the endings. So first we saw the AR conjugation chart and the ER-IR conjugation chart. E hasta o, amos estáis aron, and iste io, imos estáis eron. And then, since we know that it is a combination of these two charts, we made our irregular chart for the specific verbs that we went over in the first video. And then our chart came out to be e iste o, imos estáis eron, because you take the specific ones from the AR chart, and then the rest are the ER-IR charts. And we also saw that there's no accents in irregular preterite tense verbs, and that continued throughout. And then we had a practice where we practiced all of the endings. And then we started talking about stems. So with each verb, we had tener, estar, saber, poder, poner, hacer, and querer. Each one has a different stem. So we went over all of the stems because they aren't something that you can just see from the word itself like it was in regular preterite tense or regular present tense, where you can just say that, oh, I get rid of the ending, the ER-IR or AR ending, and then add in my correct conjugation ending. No, these ones are different. Like tuv has nothing to do with tener other than the T in the front. So we had you memorize all of these different stems. Tener is tuv, estar is estuv, saber is sub, poder is pud, poner is pus, hacer is, querer quis. So these are all of your stems, and then in part 3 we put them together with our stem and our ending, which then went on and became our conjugation chart. You have your stem and then your ending. So we have tuve, tuviste, tuvo, tuvimos, tuvisteis, tuvieron, and same. We continue this because if you remember with hablar as a regular present tense verb, you get rid of the AR, you add your stem, which in this case is just the beginning, and you add your correct ending to get your conjugation. So that's what we did for both of these. We took our stem, we added our ending, and we got our conjugation chart. So we have all of these different conjugation charts. Quise, quisiste, quiso, quisimos, quisisteis, quisieron, and all of those like that. We also went over hacer, which is irregular in the LASted form. It becomes hizo because if you're writing HICO, then it would be ICO and not ISO. In part 4, we talked about the two verbs ver and dar, where these ones both just follow the ER, IR endings. So we just get rid of this and then add in our ending. So it would be vi, viste, vio, vimos, visteis, vieron, and di, diste, dio, dimos, disteis, dieron. Part 5, we talked about decir and traer. Decir and traer are less irregular because the only ones that really change are the ellos, ellas, ustedes form. Instead of ieron or aron, it just becomes eron. So iste, o, imos, isteis, eron. And our two stems, decir is di, traer is traj. So dije, dijiste, dijo, dijimos, dijisteis, dijeron, and traje, trajiste, trajo, trajimos, trajisteis, trajeron. And lastly, in part 6, in the last part, we talked about id and sed, which both have the same conjugation chart, which is very irregular. It doesn't really follow any specific ending chart. It's just a mix. So we have I, iste, imos, isteis, eron, and then our stem, which is then added to the ending to become fui, fuiste, fue, fuimos, fuisteis, fueron. Alright, so now that we have done our recap, we are going to get a practice with all of these verbs. Pause the video now and complete your practice. You have 2 full conjugation charts to write, and the rest of them you are just conjugating the specific verb for the specified subject pronoun. Number 1, we are writing the conjugation chart of dar, and dar is one of the verbs that just follows the ER-IR preterite conjugation chart. So the first thing we're going to do is get rid of the AR at the end, and then our stem is just the D part, and then we can add in our ER-IR endings, which is the, diste, dio, dimos, disteis, and lastly, dieron. Next we have id, and we are conjugating it for vosotros, and the stem is fu, and then our ending for vosotros in the id and sed verbs is isteis. So fuisteis. Vosotras or vosotros fuisteis a la tienda. Number 3, we are conjugating hacer, which follows the combined pattern of iste, o, imos, isteis, ieron. But since it's hacer and it's in the ella form, it becomes a little bit irregular and it becomes hizo, because if it was HICO, then it would become ICO, which we don't want. Number 4, we are conjugating querer, which is another one of the verbs that follows the iste, o, imos, isteis, ieron pattern. And it is in the yo form, quise. Yo quise un perro. Number 5, we are writing the conjugation chart of poner. The stem is pus, and then it's one of the verbs that follows that ending, the combined ending. So it would be puse, pusiste, puso, pusimos, pusisteis, and pusieron, because it follows iste, o, imos, isteis, eron. And lastly, we are conjugating traer for the tu form. Traer and decir were the verbs that were pretty much the same as the formulated ones, except in the ellos, ellas, usted form, they would become eron. So it would be iste, o, imos, istes, eron. But that doesn't affect us here because we're finding the tu form, which just becomes trajiste, because the stem of traer is tra, and then we add in iste for our ending. Congratulations, you are now an expert at irregular preterite tense verbs. If this video helped, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye!